Imagine the ambition of building a 31-foot trawler right in the middle of a tiny backyard. Hi, I'm Joe, and welcome to MotorCity Boatworks. Let's get to work. I've come almost 500 miles east up into Ontario, Canada, to take a look at a 31.5-foot diesel trawler. It's built by a friend of mine named Rick LaPorte. We're going to talk about his boat building project, and hopefully he'll share some lessons that he's learned while he's been building, well, his little pocket trawler. All right, I'm here with Rick. This is Rick. Now, Rick, you have, a lot of people may know you already because you have a YouTube channel,
I do.
right?
Yep.
And what is your YouTube channel called?
It's at MV Shé.
At MV Shé. Shé is the name of your vessel, right?
Yes.
That's what it's going to be called. And he's got a little YouTube channel that he does. You originally started doing it just to have videos to show your grandkids, right?
Yeah.
That was the whole idea, right?
Showing how crazy his grandfather was.
I'm going to show you his boat building project. We're going to take a walk around it and get a little tour. And then we'll do an interview with Rick and kind of go through the builder's mindset, what it takes to undertake a project like this. I hope you stick with me. First, I want to get the scope of what this looks like. I'll try and get some footage of what his boat building shed looks like, but you can't really see. It's squeezed between two houses in a residential neighborhood, and while it doesn't look very big from the outside, the boat that is inside his self-built shed here is enormous. It's how tall is that thing? Probably,
From where we are here, it's probably 8 foot.
Probably, yeah. He says 8 foot at least to the gunnels that are up here, but you can kind of get an idea of the scope here. He built this by himself and shoehorned it into his backyard. It's made of lumber and plywood with a shrink wrap covering. He's got a workshop adjacent to the boat shed, kind of a tool room with all his materials and stuff at the same time. If you're not familiar with Rick's channel, he has an excellent video where he talks about building this temporary structure that's all around us here. It's called a Stimson bow shed, and he kind of goes through the process and all the things you got to know about doing that. It's one of the best videos on the internet for talking about that particular type of structure. A lot of people have that structure, but they really haven't gone into the detail or documented it the way Rick has as a builder. I really think it's something you should check out. I have the luxury of having a new shop where everything's well organized and very clean for the camera. But any boat builder will know this is what a real boat building shed looks like.
The boat is a model TW28 by bateau.com, which is now Boat Builder Central.
So it's 31.5 feet long.
Yep.
And it do you refer to it as a kit-built boat, or it was designed to be built by the amateur?
Yes.
From a kit, but in reality that's just pre-cut panels. Plywood panels, right? Yeah. They were CNC cut, right? And you have an interesting story in one of your videos. You talk about how you got the boat, right? Yeah. And it was someone else basically stopped their boat project.
Yep.
Or never started their boat project, and you bought the raw material kit from them.
From down around Boston.
Yeah.
And he decided that this wasn't the boat that he wanted to build. And at that time, the kits, just the plywood kits and the stringers or forms that came with it were all pre-cut. And he said, "Do you want to buy it?" And I said, "Well, I was still working at the time." I said, "Well, I might be able to scrape up $5,000." He said, "Come and get it."
Yeah.
So we drove down. It was a real little adventure. Rented a U-Haul and brought it back.
I've heard you use this expression before. You call it Meranti plywood. What is that?
That's a Southeast Asian mahogany type plywood. The veneers come from, I don't know what, the Meranti tree or something. And the glues are all waterproof, and there's 0 voids. There's 9 veneers in it, I believe.
And specifically for boat building, is that right?
Yeah.
Right. You can't get that at your local big box store, and I doubt you could get that at your lumber shop, right? How did the original owner of the kit get the wood? Does it come from the manufacturer that way?
When he would have purchased the kit,
right,
from back then it was bateau.com.
Yeah.
They would have sent the files to someone to cut the panels on a CNC mill, and part of the contract was he would supply the wood. So how he sourced it in Maine or Vermont or New Hampshire, wherever he was,
Right.
he had access to it.
Right.
And then that was all assembled with everything.
Right,
I'll give you
right.
a picture of what it looked like.
If you're not familiar with these boat building kits, well, there's a number of companies that not only sell the plans, like I've previously documented a Glen L self-build that Damien did in Ireland. There are other companies that not only sell the plans, but they'll sell you actually the kit, the pre-cut wood that is used for the framing, for the strong back, to do all the kind of construction of the boat before you flip it over. They'll sell you all that stuff, basically CNC pre-cut. And one of the most famous companies was Bateau.com. These companies and this CNC technology used for cutting the boat parts, well, it's been around for a while. These kit boats or boat plans is usually the first place that a new amateur boat builder starts in their discovery of what kind of boat it is they want to build or restore. They offer a lot of flexibility to build as you go, finance as you go, and to modify the original designs to really make something custom that you're going to be building.
This is a piece of
So what does the Moranti look like?
This is what it looks like here.
Huh.
And you can see
Oh, that's very dense. Let's see if we can...
Oh yeah, it's heavy.
It has a... Yeah, it's very heavy. It has a... The outer veneer is actually very, very good. But what's most noticeable is that there are no voids. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
And the laminations are very dense and tight. Huh. Interesting. Is this it too, or no? This is birch, probably, or something.
This is birch. This is ACX.
ACX, right? So you can see, right? So here's a piece of ACX. You can see kind of what this looks like. All right. All right, so this is the bow of the boat. This is the hull. So what is the construction, Rick? What is it made out of?
This hull has a 1/2-inch Moranti marine plywood core, and on the outside there are multiple layers of fiberglass, carbon fiber, and on the inside there are another 3 layers of fiberglass. And mostly I use what's called 1708. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, that's good.
But that's how thick one layer of 1708 is.
So how many of those layers do you have on the outside, you say?
There's actually one layer of 1708. There's a layer of 12-ounce 090.
Right.
Double bias 090. And then there's a layer of 10-ounce satin weave
Right.
fabric. Now the bow, from about the drain down to the keel, the back, but this far, has a quadraxial carbon fiber from a company called Seartex.
So this one here, this is a transom here, right?
Yep. So the transom is 2 1/2-inch layers of plywood laminated together, and then the inside of the hull was 2 layers of glass, 1708, 1208, and just paint. The outside had a layer of 15-ounce basalt biaxial fabric, 2 layers of fiberglass, 1708, 1208. And a 10-ounce plain weave.
Awesome. Man, I'm just going to tell you that this work is exceptional.
Yeah, this is just a high build primer I put on to sort of protect it, because you get all kinds of this stuff going on.
Right. It may be difficult to see on the video here, but I'm just going to tell you this is probably one of the best amateur self-build hulls that I have seen. You really did a fine job on this. Tremendous amount of work to make it look like this. Whether you build from a kit boat, a bare fiberglass hull, or an old boat that you strip down and then put back together, any way you look at it, it's a monumental undertaking requiring ingenuity, dedication, and 100% commitment.
We're building completely out of pocket. We're not borrowing money. We buy what we need when we. So you may have, like, I've got a $500 wood order I have to pick up.
Sure.
And I had to save for that for 2 months to get that wood order. So.
Well, you have a lot of it pretty much put together. You're way further along.
I'm terrible at finishing things.
Yeah.
This thing was upside down. I wanted the hull to be virtually finished when I flipped it. And I spent one entire summer with the torture boards fairing this hull. And there's probably 6 or 7 go rounds of fairing.
Really? Each side?
Filling and fairing, yeah. Actually, the other side was better because I did it second.
Yeah.
What I learned here,
Learn
I
over
applied
there.
over
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
And it's
You did it all manual.
Yeah. It's kind of like doing a body job on a bus where you filled in all the windows. Doing this.
Did you look at the stern? I mean, just look at that. You did a really good job on this.
I tore up both my rotator cuffs. It took me the whole summer.
This is one of the things that I like to bring up, is that doing this type of work, doing these type of monumental projects where you're just, you know, one person, you have a tendency to overextend yourself and, you know, can really injure yourself. And over time, it will lessen your amateur boat building career, because you just simply won't be able to do some of the things that you maybe did when you were younger, or you could push your body a certain way. So we were talking about this. So what does your wife think about you doing this? She helps you on a lot of these projects, right?
Yeah, the last couple of years she started out, especially with the fiberglass taping and tabbing and painting. She did the finishing on the panels when she took that. And, she's a taskmaster, so when I'm working with her, I don't get any breaks.
So it's only get stuff done. I'm always hesitant to show the interior of these boat building projects, because often things are in a complete state of disarray and chaos. There is a method to all this madness. Everything will eventually come together. So while we were sitting here filming, Rick did this. I don't know if you can tell, but he has a remote control for his vacuum cleaner and for your electrical, right? I love it. Fantastic.
And I'm always losing these.
Yeah.
So I wear it around my neck.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I have the same problem in that once you climb up inside the boat, I always forget to turn the vacuum cleaner back on. And I have to climb back down and get it, and then climb back up, maybe turn something on or bring power onto the boat. And I think I'm going to steal that idea to do that. I think it's brilliant. So you're going to do a DC air conditioner, a Mabro?
Cruise and cool.
You're going to do a cruise and cool. We got to talk about that. I'm curious to know. I'm thinking about getting a Mabro. Mabu.
I think, you know, had that deal not come my way, we probably would have went with a
overhead and the same thing.
Split.
Yeah. If I had an enclosed pilot house, I would do that. But since I don't have that, and I only need to air condition my tiny little aft cabin, and the rest of it, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I saw you put the headliner in.
Got the headliner done, but it came out really, really well. When the teak's put in with it, it's going to be. It should look very finished. Yeah. I think now's maybe a good time to do an interview with Rick. I want to talk to him about some lessons he's learned during his self-build. Rick, if you'd do me a favor and tell us again exactly what is the boat, and how did you come to get started on this project?
The boat is a model TW28 by Bateau.com, which is now Boat Builder Central. It's a kit boat, CNC cut panels. We acquired the kit some 12 years ago. I'd always, since I was a little kid, wanted to build my own boat. Many years ago, the Hudson's Bay Company sent a replica sailing ship up the St. Lawrence River on a goodwill tour to commemorate their 500th anniversary, called the Nonsuch.
Okay.
And I got to tour the boat, and I was just fascinated. I was 7 years old.
Right.
Big wooden beams and beams and shelves and planks, and even had guns on it. So I was all in, man. So stayed in the back of my mind for 30-some years while I was making a living and a family and all that kind of good stuff, chasing skirts. And, you know, and anyway, so around 2008, Lori, who you met, and I decided that this is something I always wanted to do. I grew up with a gentleman in Prescott who became a naval architect on the West Coast. And he gave me a set of full plans for a 50-foot offshore expedition yacht.
Okay.
In aluminum.
Okay.
Which would have cost me $1.5 million just
right.
for the hull.
Right.
So anyway, so that was it. But anyways, it was just an interesting intellectual exercise. So
you decided to do something a little bit smaller.
A little bit smaller, a little bit more do-it-yourself or friendly and things like that. So,
but let me ask you: have you ever built a boat before?
Nope.
Not really.
Nope.
No.
I've fixed a few older boats, electrical and fiberglass and stuff like that, but nothing.
So this was your first big boat building project, first and only boat building project, really.
Everybody said start small,
right?
So. Anyway.
So you bought this CNC pre-cut plywood kit. We've talked about what the plywood is and how you do it. Basically, the boat is epoxy fiberglass on plywood, correct? And it's monocoque how it's put together, correct? Mm-hmm. It kind of sustains its own strength based on the shape as it's put together, right? And you modified the original plans from 28 foot to about 31 and a half.
We did.
Right? Making it a little bit longer and slightly wider. Is that correct?
A little bit wider.
A little bit wider. How long have you been working on this project?
This is season 13. So
this is season 13.
12 years and 4 months.
Here's a big question. How much longer do you think you'll be working on it? How much further do you have to go?
My standard answer is next weekend.
Yeah.
But no, realistically, we could probably have it in the water next May.
Really?
But it would not be finished. And I'm terrible at finishing things. Once it goes in the water, probably nothing else will ever happen. And we had that little conversation earlier, and so I'm thinking 2 years, because I want it
2 years.
To be virtually 100% done.
So you don't have to worry about doing anything else to it. And then where are you going to use the boat once you have it completed?
We enjoy the skinny water, canals and rivers, small lakes and stuff. So right where we're sitting now, you can do what's called the Golden Triangle. There's Montreal, Ottawa, and back here, and that's 600 kilometers, which is about 400 miles. And it's a beautiful trip.
Right.
We've done it twice. There's the Trent Severn Canal, which goes from Peterborough, Ontario, Georgian Bay. And Georgian Bay and Lake Superior was my stomping ground was when I was with the Coast Guard.
So Great Lakes, Lake Erie, probably the canals and stuff, kind of this area.
Erie Canal, Lake Champlain, the Great Loop that everyone likes to do is certainly a possible, and this boat will be capable of doing it.
Now, we wouldn't say this boat is trailerable. It's trailerable with permits, because you were talking that it's over 10 feet wide, right? But what will it weigh once it's fully put together?
Probably with half water, half fuel, around 12,500.
12,500. So technically, it's possible to be hauled by the do-it-yourselfer. It definitely seems like
with permits.
Probably not launching, but at least as far as moving it coast to coast.
Yeah, a Ram 2500 would pull it.
Yeah. Right now, what stage are you at? What's the big push of effort right now?
The push of effort now is to get the electrical systems installed. Finish off the forward cabin, which is the head that we showed earlier, and the storage units. And then once I can get that, then I can start to seriously attack the plumbing. Big job. You've got water in, you got water out, you got waste. You've got cooling water. You've got the whole distribution network along with the water heater. And the thing is, all of that takes space. So under these gunnels will be full of stuff. There's fuel in outlets. You've got vents. You're running into a situation where you may have things come together that are going to interfere with each other.
And we kind of talked about before that you're doing some of the same components that I plan to do inside my pocket trawler. 12-volt refrigeration, 12-volt air conditioning, electric macerator head that goes into a holding tank with additional pump out capabilities, single inline diesel engine, right? All of these things. You're going to have a solar array, right? That's going to be your backup to power all this. Somewhere around, would you say 600 amp hours? 400 amp hours. But you've got an additional 200 amp hours that's going to be run for the windlass up front that you got forward, and he has a bow thruster up front. You have a background in boats and being on the water, right?
Yep.
And what is that?
I started my career with the Canadian Coast Guard in 1978 as a deckhand on buoy tender, light icebreakers, based in Prescott, which is where I grew up.
And you said more than 30, basically your career is more than 30 years with the Canadian Coast Guard.
My total combined time is closer to 40.
Closer to 40.
Yeah.
And that's what you retired from, because now you're retired, right?
Yeah, I retired in 2012.
Now you work on the boat by yourself, is that right?
For the most part,
right. You don't have any helpers or day laborers that come around and assist you or anything like that?
It's just Lori and myself,
right?
Mostly.
Just your wife and you, right? And you were telling me that your wife now, has taken on doing some of the finer epoxy work, some of the finishing work, and some of these other things, right?
Yeah.
And there's actually quite a bit of a taskmaster keeping you on project, on task, trying to get things done.
That's where this was a union shop.
Was it better when you didn't have supervision, or is it better
productivity now? Has gone up.
Yeah. This is a question I ask a lot of people. So you had such a big project, and the list of things to do is never ending. Some things are going well, some things are not going well, some things you don't even know how to do, and there's things you want to do but you can't do, and you're making all these decisions. But how do you keep going every day, day after day, in bad weather, good weather, Good equipment, bad equipment.
Yeah. I'm out here and you have good days, you get a lot of work done. Okay,
Yeah.
I can do this. And then there are other days you come out here and you're just totally frustrated. Nothing fits, nothing works. I can't do this, I can't do that. I don't have the tools. And I should have just bought a boat. I went cruising. But
Right.
anyways, that you're going to go through these mind Olympics or brain games or whatever you want to call it. But we knew as soon as we bought this kit, we were all in. I always fall back to my grandfather on my father's side, and this guy was a marvel at the time. He was a tool and die maker, a machinist, stationary engineer, electrician, plumber, you name it, he could do it. As well as he was a woodworker and everything else. And he there's always this stuff that Grandpa used to say, and sometimes Grandpa would say, it's not about the destination, sometimes it's about the journey. Right. And no matter what you do, you're going to have fun doing it.
Right.
So I actually have fun doing this.
Right.
I bet you can complain about it all the time, but I actually have fun doing it.
Right.
And, he always told me that.
I find the same thing. I agree.
You'll get the greatest satisfaction from something you've done when you've done it yourself.
Right.
And the other thing, I don't know if this came from him, but you can go out and build your own boat, or you can pay somebody to build your dream for you. Right. I don't want anybody else to build my dream because it's not going to be my dream anymore.
Right.
So,
but your dream's not available.
No.
I mean, we were talking about this over lunch, is that this is not necessarily available. Built this way, built with these components and layout the way you want.
One of one.
One of one. It's built the way you like it. If you need an extra 3 inches of room over here, you've got it. If you want your head configured a particular way, you've got that. And you can't buy that.
Nope.
And frankly, whether you believe it or not, it's cost prohibitive to buy a boat to those kind of custom specs for most people. You just simply couldn't afford it. So this is one way to afford that. That brings me to another question. We kind of talked before about how do you finance this? So you've been doing this for 14 years. What do you do to pay for this hobby lifestyle, this massive construction project?
We started acquiring materials and equipment years before we started building.
Yeah.
Once we made the decision we were going to go. So that all sort of really kicked into high gear around 2008.
And you say now that you have pretty much everything, right? You were telling me that?
And we were buying stuff back then, like from Minnie's Yacht Surplus and stuff like that, paying pennies on the dollar.
Right.
So,
and you hunted down a used engine. You hunted down marine tinned wire, but were able to buy it in bulk, used or secondhand, however you acquired it, right?
Well, no, it was all brand new stuff. Right. It was just new old stock.
New old stock. Yeah. I say secondhand, but somebody's no longer using. Yeah. They're selling off their stock. Yeah.
But we were able to buy by being in the right place at the right time.
Right.
The engine was one. The air conditioner was a deal.
Right.
That fell into our laps. They're $3,700.
Yep.
I paid $500.
Right.
It's brand new.
Right.
It's never been.
Right. That's what I do. I'm always looking for the deal on these big ticket items.
Yeah. So the bow thruster was one thing that I paid full retail price at the time, but I knew I wanted it, and I researched it, and I got the model I wanted.
Right.
And
so then you pretty much have to pay for
the company agreed not to start the warranty until I put it in the water.
Excellent.
So I've owned this thing for 10 years.
Yeah. Never started the warranty.
That's fantastic. Never put an amp or a volt to it. So.
Yeah. But you finance this thing, based off of your retirement, out of pocket, out of pocket monthly. You have this much, and then you work on that much to getting it done.
Occasionally, if it's a big ticket item, we will dip into RSP money.
Yeah,
this is there for, right?
Yeah,
I'm 64, and we got to use it up.
But you said 90%. You have pretty much have all the components now, right? So it's about final assembly and details, component hookup, getting the systems hooked up, and this and that, and then ultimately finishing it out.
Work, and then the outboard finish.
So I wanted to ask you about this because I think this is an unusual but clever solution. We talked about what you're going to put on your deck and what you're going to use to coat or paint the exterior above the waterline of the boat, right? The cabin top and all this kind of stuff. And what's your solution for that?
So the hull will likely be painted with Alex Seal.
Alex Seal.
As a
two-part paint, right?
Being the most DIY friendly product that we've seen, and Andy on Boatworks today has demonstrated the entire process from start to scratch. and that's something that we can do.
You use the roll and tip method. You won't spray, right? All right.
I mean, I could, but
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm going to end up with. So.
sure.
Anyways, so the cockpit, the side decks, the aft deck, the forward deck, and the cabin top will all be done with Raptor liner.
Right. Raptor liner is like the truck bed liner, right?
Like
I mean, that's basically what you're going to do. It's what'd you say? It was like a polyurethane.
It's a polyurethane plastic.
Plastic, right? And it's sprayed down.
Yep.
You'll prime for it, and then you'll have somebody professionally spray this. So you won't be doing this, right?
No, I'll do it myself.
You'll do it yourself.
Yep.
Okay. And you'll spray that down. Are you going to do it in white?
White.
Yeah.
And you can tint it. There are tintable versions of it.
Yeah.
We want to have like a navy blue hull, and sort of the cabin sides will probably be painted that oyster white.
Right.
Little sort of beigey.
That's what I'm doing on the Skipper 20 now.
But
then on the inside here, you'll have your cherry panels that all make up the interior, insulated cherry veneer panels that will go inside here, so it'll all have a finished wood appearance. So now 14 years of having been working on this project, will you have any advice for someone else who's thinking about starting a project, or maybe like me, they're in the middle of their project and they're wondering, am I going to be able to complete this thing? Well, what do I do?
One, do it when you're younger.
Do it when you're younger.
40s.
Yeah.
You don't want to be too crippled.
We were talking about this. Oh, my elbow hurts. Yeah. Oh, what about my knees? Oh, look at this over here. I can't. My hip hurts.
Do it when you're younger. Do not build on dirt.
Don't build on dirt.
Don't build on dirt.
Why?
The ground heaves. And every time it heaves, you have to re-level the boat. So for the first 7 or 8 years, every spring I'd have to come in here. I'd have to wait for 2 months before I could level it.
Yeah.
Till the water left the ground.
Yeah.
And until I actually got the engine and some more weight in here.
Right.
Then it settled down.
Settled down everything. Interesting. So. I never
Plus
thought of that.
It's extremely messy.
Very messy, right? In the air and stuff. Yeah.
Learn your materials. What fabric reinforcements you're going to use.
Yeah.
What you're going to use for a core. What chemistry you want to use for your resin. Do some tests. Play with it. Go see other people doing it. Go help other people building their boats. Learn a lot more. So the other thing I suggest is that people learn the terminology. If you're on a Facebook group or a Reddit forum or something like that, and it's boat building, and you want to accomplish something, you should be able to articulate what it is you want in the language that the others will understand. Now, I'm not saying you need to be a naval architect, but if you're talking about battens and glues or hybrid electric systems and all that stuff, you should know how to at least have a basic.
Well, that brings us to our last point, which is you have a YouTube channel.
Yep.
Right. What and for everyone who doesn't know, we're going to get it officially from the source here. What is the name of your YouTube channel? And of course, it's the name of the boat.
Yeah. So on YouTube, it's at MV Shé, SHEKON.
But that's not really how you say it, correct? No. What does Shé mean?
Shé is actually pronounced say go.
Say go.
Which is a Mohawk greeting that basically means greetings. So it's spelled Shé and it's pronounced say go.
So that's kind of why it looks so weird when it's in print, you know, the expression of it. It's actually a Mohawk expression. Yeah, it's not English. Fascinating.
Thank the Jesuit priests.
Yeah, right. Fascinating. Well, listen, Rick, it's been an amazing time here. It's an extraordinary undertaking, a project that I think most people would not be willing to undertake. They might consider it, but I'm here to tell you that it's hot in here. I can only imagine how cold it gets in here in the wintertime. You're wearing the jersey here in honor of our visit, and it's just kind of extraordinary that one individual would undertake something like this, building his dream boat. I want to thank you, and I really appreciate it.
Joe.
And we correspond offline quite frequently and watch each other's videos, and it's really been a pleasure coming here to see this. It's just something. It's hard to imagine, and that's the whole reason I wanted to come here, so people can actually see this is real amateur boat building. There's no doubt about it. Traveling to visit other amateur boat restorers and boat builders has to be one of the best side benefits of owning MotorCity Boat Works. I just love going to visit other boat builders and see how they do things and trade ideas with them. Rick LaPorte is a humble and soft-spoken guy. His channel has been going for quite a while, and he's yet to gain traction in YouTube or even become monetized. Of course, he doesn't do it for the money. None of us do. But you sure would make his day if you would subscribe to his channel. He only needs another 300 subscribers to break the 1,000 subscriber mark. Do me a favor, take a moment, go over to his channel, subscribe, and let him know that you appreciate him making his videos about his boat building project. I'll leave the link in the show description. It'll take you right to his YouTube channel. I'll be back again soon as I begin installing the systems in the Albin 27 behind me. There's a lot of moving parts and it's gonna be a little bit complex, but I think it's gonna be really fascinating as we see how this boat comes together right before our eyes. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you again next time. Stay motivated. If you like these videos, please hit the subscribe button. These videos would not be possible without your support.